everyone. My name is Lori McIntosh, and I'm here at Gold Hill Gardens in Newcastle, California. And I am with the owners and their manager, Katie. This is Cindy and Mike Carson. And I've been dying to talk to them for a while because they are huge contributors to the community. And we'll get there, but I'm going to start with you, Mike, because you had the microphone.
Perfect.
And I'd love to know how this place came to be for both of you.
So when our children were little, probably 3 and 1 or 4 and 2, in that age range, we were living in the Roseville area, and we wanted to move to some property. So we actually did a long tour. We rented a motorhome and toured all the western states for about 3 weeks, thinking we were going to be moving out of the state. And we had already looked at this property once before. When we got back, we realized how beautiful the property was, so we ended up buying it. And we lived in a little miner's cabin on the other side of the property. We had to rebuild it. It took us the whole summer to rebuild the thing, so we lived in a 24-foot Terry trailer for the first 6 months. And then we finally got that little place done. I had to put a new well in and septic and all that. And we lived in there for 6 years, and then we ended up building the house, which is now the inn, in 2002. And we started landscaping, and both of us really loved to garden, and we were doing a lot of landscaping. We built the pool in 2004, and because of the landscaping and whatnot, we had a lot of people asking us to try to use the property for events, and there's a lot of upkeep involved and cost, and so we thought, well, shoot, maybe we had a good friend of ours that worked for the flower farm, and they said, you guys should look into doing an event center. So we looked at the requirements in Placer County, and it required a minor use permit, and so they told us that it would take us 3 months, 90 days to get our permit. It took us 3 years.
What? 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold that mic up a little farther, just so I don't want to miss what you're saying, because that's kind of a shocker right there.
Yeah, it took
Or
us
maybe it's not.
3 years to get our approvals. We had to do basically an environmental impact report. It's called a mitigated neg deck. So we had to do all sorts of studies, and we were able to get it approved. We had to go appeal to the Board of Supervisors. It was a 3-2 vote, but we ended up getting our approvals. And after that, the county actually put a moratorium on community centers. They were called community centers back then. And they put a moratorium for 2 years while they revamped the ordinance, and then they updated the ordinance. And it's my understanding that I don't think any other event centers have been approved since then. This is now our 13th year in business. So
Still going strong.
Yeah, we're constantly upgrading the grounds. Ultimately, we would like to try to turn, we're on 38 acres total. We would like to try to turn the whole property into botanical gardens. We toured Bouchard Gardens just before we bought this property and just fell in love with that and said, geez, that would be nice to try to replicate.
Where's Bouchard Gardens
It's
located?
in British Columbia.
Okay.
Vancouver
Island. I think I've been there. It's gorgeous. Pretty stunning. Yeah.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. We've got 2 creeks that run through our property, Sailor Ravine and Doty Ravine. Doty Ravine is a salmon habitat creek, and they're hoping they have a couple of dams downstream that they need to get ladders put in. And so they're hoping to get those opened up, and then eventually there'll be salmon back up here. So it'd be nice to be able to watch that as part of the things people can do here.
Yeah, that is a pretty big program that they have in Auburn with sustainability and rehabilitating the salmon coming through.
For Auburn Ravine. That's Auburn Ravine. SARSIS is the name of the group that did that. Save Auburn Ravine Salmon and Steelhead. We were members of them for a while. They actually have come out here and toured the grounds and are really excited about trying to get this to become salmon habitat again.
That's really nice. I'd never heard that, that you had that ability to pull that off. That's great.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of you were already in Placer County, toured everywhere, came back right up the road, basically from Roseville to
Yes.
do this. And I don't blame you. I mean, there's really no better place than being in Northern California. It's so pretty here.
And this side of the 80 corridor versus the 50 corridor has so much more water. I really believe that it's going to become a destination with the wineries and breweries and all the things that it has to offer. And there's just, so much beauty out here. That's amazing.
True. I do have a lot of people from the Bay Area that want to have that rural lifestyle, want land, maybe not 38 acres, but maybe 3. And they can't decide between I-80 and I-50. And I always kind of pull them over here because of that very reason. There's the Sierras flow quite a bit down through here, and we have
Right.
NID, which is Nevada Irrigation District, and PCWA, the Placer Water.
Placer County Water Agency, yes.
Thank you.
They
Placer
both
County
have
Water Agency.
ditch service, so you can get irrigation water. It's a little more cost effective off of the ditches. There's miles and miles of ditches in the region here.
So that's one of the bonuses of you picking out this property, was the access to water.
For sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then what point did you decide and agree to make this a venue?
It was probably
'Cause
like
you are a couple working
2010 or
together.
2011. It just made sense to open it up to folks. We enjoy sharing the grounds and whatnot, and so we started heading down that path.
Nice. And then you have something to say?
Yeah, we had a couple of dozen cattle. So we raised cattle and we had a dairy cow. And she was giving us 3 to 6 gallons of milk a day. And we had a couple dozen hens, so people would buy the eggs. But then we looked into trying to be sustainable off the cattle and the dairy cow, but we couldn't sell the milk because there's lots of restrictions on that. And then I looked into maybe doing kosher beef as kind of a specialty thing to sell the beef, but you have to have a kosher butcher, and there wasn't one in this area. And then if I sold at farmers markets, they only want certain cuts. So you have to sell the cuts of beef. You can't sell like a quarter side or a half side. So all that didn't make sense. We were looking for ways after we had done, I guess, the cattle and the chickens for a while to try to be more sustainable and making a living off of that, because the feed and everything costs a lot. So that, and we also were planting a lot. So since that kind of didn't look like it was going to be financially feasible, we went more in the gardening direction. And that's kind of what led us there as well. Plus the kids grew up and left, and they were a big help with the cattle. And we didn't need all that milk anymore once they weren't here. Well, we were using, that's all they were used to. And so
you can make a lot of ice cream.
Well, we made a lot of butter, but when they used to have friends spend the night, they would always say, "What's wrong with your milk or your eggs?" Because our eggs were so dark orange,
Yeah.
But I guess they kind of, I don't want to say we outgrew it. We tried to look at other ways to make it financially feasible, and with the gardening and everything, we just kind of went more in that direction.
What was your previous careers?
I'm a physician assistant in family practice. I was a clinical lab scientist out of college first, did that for a while, and then went into the PA field.
She just recently retired, probably 2 years ago.
Congratulations.
From Sutter. I am a civil engineer, and I retired probably 3 years ago. I did consulting in the land development arena for local builders, primarily residential, but a little bit of commercial. And so that's kind of helped with, being able to do all the things we do around here, because we do most of the work ourselves around here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and did both of you just have this passion for gardening for a long time?
we just like the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
We used to do a lot of camping and that kind of stuff when we got the property. We didn't,
You don't need to
we
camp
lived
anymore.
camping. But when we first bought this property, you couldn't see the creeks. The hill behind me, where the inn is now, was just a star thistle hill. There wasn't a tree on here. So all the big oak trees were around the perimeter, but nothing on the hills. We've planted all of the stuff and ran irrigation everywhere, and we get 13 miners inches of water from NID, which
13?
yeah, most people get 1 or 2.
Yes, that's
So
me.
yeah, we have 13 minor inches of water here, so we have a lot of water. We have probably 10 or 12 acres of irrigated pasture. We used to run, like Cindy said, 24 cattle on cow-calf operation.
Mm-hmm.
But that, basically breaks even. It doesn't generate a lot of income. And we knew we wanted to expand and do more irrigation and more landscape. So that's kind of what got us going in the direction of doing events. And ultimately, we want to do, like I said, the botanical garden, which doesn't generate a lot of income either, but it opens up the grounds to more people and more exposure. So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to
I
getting
have
there
to
someday.
say, Gold Hill Gardens, I didn't really grasp the fact that you really are into gardens. I thought of it as a venue for events mostly, but and then it just happened to have incredible landscaping. So now I'm so glad that this is all explained. Did you have to hire a professional, or did you two just do this on your own and figure out all the planting that you wanted that was California based?
We did it on our own. It's kind of a funny. When I was consulting, I worked for a lot of builders that they build model complexes, and when they're all sold out of their subdivision, where the model complex is, they have to tear out all the landscaping in the front and sometimes in the back, because they have to put fences back up in driveways and convert the garage back into a garage from a sales office and all that. And so when they tear all that landscape, Cindy and I used to go dig it all up, and most of the plants around the house are all transplants from model home complex renovation. So like all of the big sequoias, the Aptos blue sequoias that were there, were all transplants from model home complexes. Most of them.
See, now you know something.
Yeah, the Star Jasmine Hill, all that Star Jasmine's all transplanted. We'd go take I have a 16-foot car trailer. We'd go take the car trailer and we'd spend all day digging it up and just load that trailer up with all the plants and come plant them all.
Well, otherwise they just mow it down
and haul it to the dump.
Stand to see all those plants tractored
Oh,
over.
that's sad.
Yeah.
It was really sad.
That's good that you gave him a second home, really.
Yep.
And Star Jasmine, that reminds me of weddings. So maybe you could talk a little bit about weddings and what you do to when someone makes the phone call here and says, I think I want to get married at your place. Tell me more.
Well, the first thing we do is invite them out to tour. I've been told several times that our photos don't do the venue justice.
Oh, you need a better professional photographer.
It's hard to capture.
It is hard. People don't
Yeah, it's
realize
true.
how big it is and how spread out the property is. So we always try and bring people out to tour, to kind of put themselves in that mindset of like seeing how their event would flow, where they would have their ceremony, where they would have their cocktail hour, and just be able to kind of envision it here.
Nice. So you need to be on site, basically.
Yes, definitely.
So if someone's far away, like they live in New York and they want to come to California and they're thinking about Napa, I'd say they're probably more affordable to come here instead of going to Napa,
Yes.
St. Helena, Calistoga. Because we've got good wine.
We do.
Sure.
Yes, we do. We are very similar, and I think that when people come out here, they realize that that we are similar to Napa, Calistoga,
And way more private,
but in a different
and
price
quiet.
bracket for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Describe a little bit about the what we offer and all that kind of stuff.
As far as like wedding packages?
Yeah, well, not necessarily pricing, but the decor center and.
Oh yes, a huge draw for our clients is our on-site decor. Mike and Cindy have been collecting things, much like plants. They've been collecting decor that people leave after their events: table numbers, candles, vases, votives, and so lanterns, arches. Like we've got quite an extensive inventory that we are able to pass forward to future clients, to kind of customize, save money, but still have the event that they want to have. That's a huge draw. for a lot of our clients.
That makes sense. So you don't have, if you are on a somewhat of a budget, you don't have to
Mhm.
purchase all these things. You already have it.
Yes, we have we'll see the decor room after. I'll show you.
Oh, I'm excited.
We have a lot of stuff.
Can you tell me like a wedding that just really stuck out for you that was your favorite, and you too as well?
Yeah, I know which one's mine.
Okay, you immediately thought of one. I'll
Yeah.
have to think
So
about it. We
the
have
one
so
that
many.
stands out for me is the Kentucky Derby event. So it was probably back in 2016 would be my guess. The whole theme was based around the Kentucky Derby, and it was the year that I don't remember the name of the horse, but they won the Triple Crown.
Nice.
And so while the bride was down at the lower ceremonies getting married, we were recording the Derby. I think it was the Preakness, right? Is that the Preakness?
It might have been the Belmont, but
Anyway, and the horse won. They didn't know because they were getting married, right? And so then we had a big TV set up in where the cake arbor is now. You know where the cake arbor is? And so when everybody came up, they were all in hats and, in dressed like they were at the Derby. And when they came up, we replayed it back. And you should have heard them scream. They just couldn't believe that on their wedding day was the Preakness, or was the Triple Crown winning. So that one was, and they had a
That's
horse.
good luck.
They had a little stable up by the Paverstone patio, set up with a jockey there and a little racing horse, little horse. Both families, and then the names were Jesse and Jesse. So the bride was Jesse, and the groom his name was Jesse, and so they had
That's
a
so
little.
cute.
Both families had horse ranches and stuff, so it was a big horse.
So there was a little horse here, or like
Yes.
a real little,
Yeah.
like a pony?
No,
Or
it
a
was
mini?
small thoroughbred,
small
like
horse.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
just kind of, Seabiscuit was pretty small. Hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
they built a pen, and they were in the
Oh,
the horse
nice.
and the jockey were in the pen. It was cute. It
That's
was very
cute.
nice.
Was that your favorite too, Cindy? Or you have a different one?
Well, I was just thinking of a different one. It's probably a tie. That was my favorite, just because I love horses, and that was a beautiful wedding. But one of the ones early on was a lovely couple, and they got married on the solstice, and they had a big picnic set up down there, and they had games and goings on early, and everybody was
all-day
casual. Yeah. And then they had everybody leave and go to the wineries. So their family and the guests visited all the wineries, and they went up and got ready. And then they came back, the families and everybody came back for dinner and the other part of the wedding. Yeah, the ceremony and the reception. So they kind of they wanted to have more of a gathering all day, outdoors, and kind of celebrate the solstice. So it was really, really beautiful. Yeah, it's just both of those were very unique and very different. So they kind of stand out, and they did a great job at.
It sounds like they were able to take full advantage of what you had to offer.
True.
They
Very
used,
true.
They used everything. Yeah. Did you think of anything yet?
I don't have a specific one.
No.
Nothing.
That's okay.
Shane's been with us for 3 years now.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 years in beginning of this month. Yeah, I started June 2022.
You don't have a fave?
A favorite, sure. But nothing quite like a Kentucky Derby theme.
Yeah.
We did have one last May that it was the middle of May, and they also wanted to celebrate Hispanic Mother's Day. And so they had a mariachi band that played the bride in, and it played everybody into the ceremony. And then they stuck around for cocktail hour, and that was just, I don't know, added a whole other element to it. It was really cool.
I bet they were all dressed really colorful.
Yes, it was an all women's. And it
Wow.
just made it really
I think I've
special.
seen them.
Yeah.
And
So
then what about the people from China? We had one where the groom was from China, and his whole family came from back there, and they didn't speak a word of English, and they stayed here. And every morning, his mother would just beeline out the door. She didn't say anything, and she was gone for like an hour, and then came back, And we realized from him that she was actually doing a loop on the property, and every morning she would walk. And she told the groom to tell us, he said, she wants you to know that this is a slice of heaven here. Because where they lived in China, they didn't have anything like this. So they were just like in awe of the trees and the plantings and really enjoyed it, which that was really nice couple too.
Right, very international.
Yeah.
How about behind the scenes things that you do for your clients that they don't know anything about, or until they come here and you have to show them? But when they look at the website, you kind of mentioned it, but things that you really have to point out, like the coin operated horse racing over there.
Yes, those actually work.
I know.
People ask me that all the time, that they actually work. Something that people don't know, and not everybody realize or finds this out, but how we take the bride across if she wants to come across the bridge for the ceremony. That's kind of something that people don't realize what goes into that. We pick the bride and her father or whoever's walking her across the bridge up at the house, and we take them around the back of the property, like through the vendor area, and then we actually have to drive through the creek, which is always fun to have people realize what we're doing.
And she's in a wedding dress?
Yeah, she's in a wedding dress in the
In
front
that
of a truck, in the front of the pickup truck, crossing the creek and then coming around back so that she's hidden, so that the bride can come across as her entrance and surprise everybody.
That's unique for sure.
It is very unique, and it's fun to experience that with them in that moment right before their ceremony.
Because people are smiling even more.
Yes, and if they're nervous or, just have the jitters, it's just kind of like fun to break them out of that when we go four-wheeling.
Much better than taking an Ativan.
Off of that a little bit, Daniel Berlant got married here, and his wife really wanted to come across the bridge no matter what. And they got married, it was either in March or April, and it had rained like crazy. So the creek was swollen high, and it was drizzling a little bit that morning. And I said, I can try to get you across the creek if you want to. She goes, yes. And their tagline was Berlant Adventure. And so we had to drive through the creek, and it was literally halfway up the door. I was like amazed, and we made it over there. She came across the bridge. It was awesome.
And she didn't get wet.
What's that?
She didn't get wet.
No. No. We make sure it's safe. But
so that's kind of a funny moment. Are there any other funny moments that you can think of or unexpected during events?
Yes.
That you're like, what just happened?
One is, again, we haven't really run the weddings now that we have Katie, our wonderful manager. So before, when it was Mike and I, we were a lot more involved. But they do pictures oftentimes with the groomsmen where they make them jump up, and you've seen those pictures.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently this was right before the wedding, because everyone does pictures now ahead of time.
Before instead of after.
So when the best man jumped up, his pants split completely in the back. And so they said, do you have any shorts that we can wear? And he was going to get a pair of shorts. And I said, well, no, I'll just sew those. So I whipped out my sewing machine, and he wore a pair of Mike's shorts while I sewed it real quick before the ceremony. And then I double sewed it. And I said, you'll last all night in these, but I can't guarantee, like, if you do any more jumping stuff. So just take it easy. So he wore those. And another one was when somebody brought a cake. Somebody made it for her. I don't know if it was a relative or a friend. And they got lost on MapQuest, and they went down Ridge Road coming here with a wedding cake in the back. Yeah, Ridge Road is
bumpy.
So they got here, and she was all panicked because I think the middle layer was all smashed because it had gone from side to side. So we decided, nobody tell the bride, just go to the broom, tell him we're going to fix it. But she doesn't need to know anything right now. So
She didn't know that all this was happening behind the scenes.
yeah. So I just showed her. I have a huge, deep baking drawer at the time in the kitchen, and because the bakers always drop the cake off. And I said, "Here's a rolling pin. Here's all. Have at it." And she took the middle section out, refrosted everything, put it together. It looked beautiful, and the bride never even knew. Even the next day, she did not know that her cake was missing the middle part. But that was pretty awesome.
Nice
that she
recovery.
Fixed, yeah, it was really good.
That's a
There
good
was
one.
another one that the father of the bride somehow forgot his pants to his yeah, he ended up wearing a pair of my black slacks because he couldn't find his pants. I guess when he
It's a
packed
good thing you're a
everything,
normal sized man, so
he
you can
left
help
his
all
pants.
these poor men.
That was so funny. There's always little behind the scenes
It
things
sounds
like
like
that
you're
that
able to
happen.
recover pretty quickly.
Yeah. And we've got our grounds, fortunately, we require that our clients choose a caterer, a DJ, and a planner from our preferred vendor list. And it's just all of our vendors on our list are awesome and great people to work with, and they're a team. So there's the way we have the layout here, there's a lot of behind the scenes going back and forth and moving things, especially like in the early spring or late fall. If the weather changes, we have to revamp. Sometimes we'll move the ceremony from down below at the oak tree because of the rain up here to the patio so that people can get married out of the rain. And all that stuff happens behind the scenes. The clients and the guests never really feel any of that. So we have a lot of very good access behind the scene that people can get all that stuff done without interrupting the guests. So
And then
really
having that preferred vendor list, they all know each other, so they're more comfortable. Like, hey, I need you to do this right now, and they're like,
Correct.
sure.
Everybody chips
versus,
in.
who are you? I don't want to do that for you because I don't know you.
Yeah.
So they're all set. That's a good thing to do. So one thing that I know about you is that I've been to a lot of charity events here from Leadership Auburn. Not that they're a charity, but it's through the chamber. And then I'm in Rotary, and you've been to a lot of their events, the Rotary Club of Auburn. And I was a Seroptimist. I know you had a luau here for the Seroptimists of Auburn. And what makes you, and why do you guys help so much with charities and local organizations that do service above self?
We enjoy sharing what we have here and giving back to the community. It's anytime you can support your community, you are supporting everything, and so it's nice to be. We're fortunate that we can do that, first of all, and so we like to share what we have and have people appreciate what we have. So it's you get back tenfold what you give.
That's right. So it's always kind of been within your heart to do that. And now that you have the opportunity, it's even easier.
Yes, for
Right.
sure.
Like being a physician assistant, you can't really, like, you're working in an office. It's not like you could go off and just work for free, but now and give, you can do things to give back. But I mean,
You can volunteer.
yeah, I mean,
I have.
She actually,
but not really full time.
Part of Flying Samaritan.
Yeah.
So she used to go to Mexico and help down there.
But yes, so to volunteer in a lot of organizations takes a lot of time. So this is some way that we can give back. Like Compassion Planet is for aged out foster youth, and they bought a piece of property up the road. And they're trying to revamp that, and they have their fundraiser here. And so to be able to help them in that way, I mean, that takes the load off them for at least not having to worry about where to have it for the next couple of years, maybe. So those are just ways that we can help their organization or another organization without physically going and spending more time than he mostly already does in all these organizations. Just another way.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't word it right because I was just thinking, oh, yeah, I used to be an occupational therapist and I would do hippotherapy, which is horse therapy for kids after work. And I didn't get paid, but I couldn't do it full time. It wasn't a full time
Right.
job. So that's what I was thinking. Whereas obviously you have weddings and other events here where people are paying to keep your business going and keep your property going, but you still have that ability to help other organizations. And that's because I think there are other venues out there. I wouldn't say just Placer County that don't do that. And that just helps you stand out a bit more. I mean, it would make people want to hire you as a venue more so because you donate so much and help out so much, I would think.
We try to do, I mean, our bread and butter are weddings, but we do all sorts of other events too. We do celebrations of life. We do a lot of the charitable events, like for the Boys and Girls Club and for the Chamber. We do a bunch of stuff for the Chamber, Leadership Auburn, obviously. Um, what's that? And then we do company picnics. So we host Old Town Pizza's company picnic. They came here. They've been here probably 3 or 4 times. One year they opted not to come here. They went somewhere else, and so according to Reese, everybody voted to come back here. They all had a better time here, and so they continue to do their company picnics here. But we also do corporate retreats, like we have a group up there right now from the Placer Arts, right? And then we've done things for some of the school districts and things like that, where they do a little retreat to get away and kind of revamp and bring their team together.
Okay. And then within the county, do you have for your permit, are you limited to how many you can do per year?
So we are. We can host weddings up to 150 guests. The grounds can handle more than that. We have on occasion done larger events up to 300 people under a separate individual permit that they augment our existing permit. We are limited to 60 events a year, basically. And our use permit limits our events, the time frame of our events on, so we're closed Monday and Tuesday for events. And then Wednesday, Thursday, we have to be shut down by 9 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we shut down at 10 p.m. And on Sunday, we close at 6 p.m.
Okay. Have you ever had any complaints from neighbors? I feel like you have
when
so
we
much
first
space.
started, we had some growing pains, but no complaints that were legitimate violations of the permit. So we have 0 blemishes on our record for the permit. But we have had some neighbors that were calling, and so we worked through that. Like, we limit where the DJ can be set up, and we have a noise ordinance and a noise sound meter that we regulate the level of the volume. And the one neighbor that was giving us the biggest heartache, she finally, after about 5 years, called and told me that we've done everything we said we were going to do, and she has no complaints with us. And if she does have an issue, she'll call us directly. They all have my phone number, so they call me directly. And sometimes we'll get a DJ that's not familiar with the grounds outside of our vendor list, and they get a little bit too loud, and so we have to ratchet them back down.
Uh-huh.
But we stay on top of that very, very strongly. We want to make sure that we're cognizant of our neighbors and respectful of our neighbors.
That's great. Yes. Definitely don't like neighbors complaining or
Yeah, we
just
don't
dealing
want to
with
be
it.
a problem for them.
No.
We understand and acknowledge that we have rights on our property as well.
Mhm.
And so we want to respect their rights, but they need to be able to respect our rights as well.
Right, because I think people do have the ability. There's zoning for commercial use, so it's like we should have it, and
Yeah.
it's great that you have it.
Our zone is it's called FX 10. It's a farm zone, an agricultural zone, and the since we're outdoor venue, and with the bed and breakfast, it falls into the ag criteria for
Okay,
allowable uses.
that would be good for people that want to do this to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to community events, I was thinking, do you have, I don't know if I should ask because they're all amazing, but do you have a favorite or one that stands out that you really like to work with?
They all are a little bit different, so I don't know that I necessarily have a favorite. I certainly enjoy the Old Town Pizza event because I get to be here and spend time with Reese and other friends. And it's nice seeing all the young people enjoy the pool. We set up a 100-foot slip and slide down the pasture, down the hill.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's always a hit. Everybody has, and I partake in that. Reese and I'll go down the slip and slide.
Can I come watch that?
So that's a lot of fun.
That sounds fun.
So that's a memorable one. But it's nice to, for instance, the Boys and Girls Club. They tell us every year that they have their fundraiser here that they do better than they've done anywhere else. So I think, and same thing with Compassion Planet, that they raise more funds when they're here than they raise at other locations. I think that the natural beauty and the layout and the way things flow here helps soften people's wallet a little bit and give more. So it's nice.
That's great. Do you have people in mind that you support, or they call you up and ask you, or do you have how do you pick and choose?
No, most of the time people reach out to us, and we try to give back where we can. We can't always accommodate what they need, but we do try.
Okay. All right. So Katie, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So you've been on the team
Yes.
for 3 years.
Yes.
What's your favorite part since you've started doing this work? What were you doing before?
A few different things.
How did you convince them to hire you?
That's probably a question for them. I have a degree in psychology. Previously, was working in mental health. And then I moved from that and did operations for Sephora for a while before moving back to the Sacramento area. My parents live in Placerville, so I wanted to be closer to them and just applied for their job opening.
We went through a rigorous hiring process, and she was the top.
I would say like twofold. Immediately, I remember our first interview so well. I remember it so well. Immediately, it was like family. It was like talking to like my parents or like friends of my parents, family friends. It was just immediately comfortable. Immediately, you just like were welcomed into the family, into the community. So that's something that has carried through. I mean, the last 3 years, and I joined Leadership Auburn this year because the broader community, the Auburn community, being a part of it has been so cool. The second part when it comes to events is because we're smaller family run, I'm the one that tours people, books people, does their layout, and then is here the day of for their event. So being able to be with couples for the whole process is really special. Making that connection, building that relationship, I think is very unique. Other venues have a bigger team, which has its pros and cons, sure, but being able to work with people from start to finish has been really cool.
You don't have a lot of red tape to deal with.
Right. Or there's no, miscommunications or pass off or, oh, that person takes care of that and I don't deal with that. Like, we do it all. We do everything. We all have the common goal to have a successful event. So I like seeing it from start to finish.
Nice. And Mike, are you still a board member of Leadership Auburn?
Yes, I'm on the executive committee. There's 9 of us now, I think, or 10 of us. I went through the program in 2013, and I've been involved with them ever since. We host their orientation here for the new class members coming in, and then we also host the graduation ceremony here, which is right around the corner.
Yeah,
on the 25th of this year. Yeah. So anybody that wants to go to the graduations, welcome to come and see this awesome team.
Now, as you graduate, you don't have to work, right? You have the night off because you're getting.
I thought about that. We haven't talked about that.
No, you are not working.
Or I'll help with like the build up to it. I'll do the layout and all that stuff. But day of.
So it seems to me like if you have 150 people here and there's 3 of you, and of course you have the vendors, like how do you pull this off? Like in a typical day, and then you're sewing pants and running around. It's like it's pretty amazing that you're able to pull all this off yourselves.
It's after 13 years of operations, we have it dialed. I mean, we really do. We the layout's done ahead of the day. Our team the outside vendor team, everybody kicks in and they know what needs to be done. And we have things, Katie can show you the decor room, but she's got it well organized. Everything's labeled. And so if somebody needs something, it's easy to send them in there and get whatever's needed. So it's very dialed. We have the layout component where our chairs are at and stored. We have a separate set of chairs for ceremony that are stored in a separate area, so we can set them up and break them down and not be interrupting the clientele and the event. So it works out very well. Every year we're adding something new. We learn new things and we adapt. So, and our clientele changes every year too. People want different styles and different things. We just recently purchased 150 crossback chairs, so now we can offer a nicer look for reception. And then we're always expanding the grounds and adding new things that make people's experience better. This new deck area.
And let me tell, and so we are not at the weddings anymore. Katie does it all. And then the couple has a planner, but he also hires a couple of young men from Auburn. And it's really sad. The ones we have right now they just graduated, so they're going to be going off to college. And that happened a couple of years ago again. So we always have a couple from Auburn, and then they get their friends from high school trained before they leave for college. So we have 2 new young men training, and they help at the weddings and on the grounds too. But a lot of them love to work the weddings. And so it's really nice to have them local because it can be a late night and it's not very far for them to drive home.
Yeah.
So that's always nice.
Speaking of, where's the closest store? I feel like you're just in
We're
such a great
7 miles
location.
from the Lincoln and 7 miles from Auburn. So it's
Nice.
not that far. It's 15 minutes drive,
Super convenient.
But to make a round trip, it's 45 minutes to go round trip from here to go pick something up and come back.
But you've got an
But
ice
it's
machine.
yeah, we have a ton of stuff here. So we have a 500-pound ice machine here. We have a commercial grade refrigerator here. We have a convection oven down there. So we're very dialed, and then we have
Pretty self-sufficient.
extra propane tanks, and we also have 2 Generac generators down there that are on a propane tank. So if PG&E were to shut the power down, it fires right up, and our clients don't even notice.
And there's a lot more around here now than there was when we first moved out here. So when people come for touring, a lot of times they'll ask me, where's there to eat? Because it's the middle of the day and they've been around touring. And there's a winery 2 doors down, Dono del Cello. They have a food truck. I think it's every Saturday and Sunday. And they have a list on their website of what the food is. So we just say go there. There's a couple of other places that have food. So it's a lot different than when we first opened as to what's out here. And the hotels, the Holiday Inn is only 7 miles away. And now we have that new hotel, Sierra Vista, that's just a little bit further up. And they both offer rehearsal dinners and
After parties.
restaurants. So there's a lot of places. People don't realize how, even though this seems far out, there are amenities close that they can then utilize when they're done here. Which is really nice.
Yeah, Holiday Inn. Every year they tell us how much they appreciate. We have a lot of we provide a lot of business for them. So a lot of our people that are coming from out of town stay at the Holiday Inn up there, and now the Sierra Vista. Same thing. So
Yeah, or the Foothill Motel.
I don't know if we get many clients that stay there.
It's the only other one I know.
It's a little hole in the wall hotel. It's cleaned
Just
up
kidding.
a lot.
It is. It's getting better. I think we got a new neon light now. So what do you hope people walk away with when they come here for an event?
Feeling serene, because to me that's why we want to expand the gardens too. So it's very different. Like we change the sprinklers every morning early, and the amount of wildlife and especially the babies right now that you see, if you do that early, that's a great way to start your morning. You just feel so blessed and so serene. And so by making more of gardens, it'll be a place where people can walk around and kind of be at one with nature and have that feeling of peace. And you don't have to fight traffic all the way to Tahoe to get that, especially if you live in a subdivision. You need that release every now and then. And even to hear the birds right now and the greenery and the creeks, it's a different feeling, and it's a good feeling. And so even if you only experience that for 4 hours, I think at least you leave here more
A little bit
peaceful.
more grounded
Yes.
for your day.
Yes.
We just did our first spa day. So here on the left
No, I
hand side,
missed it.
we did the
That was
massage. We had
fun.
massage in both of these rooms, and another massage table set up in the groom's room. They did facials and massage up in the inn, and yoga down on the grass. And it was very nice seeing everybody relaxed and just enjoying nature. That's what it's all about for us out here. That's one of the big motivations for us to continue to push and landscape and um, create walkways and things for people to enjoy nature. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with the regional park that opened up here, Hidden Falls Park.
I go
But-
there 3 times a week on my horse.
Yeah, and that place
Yeah,
gets
right
used
there.
like crazy, and they have
It's
to
growing.
turn people away all the time.
Yeah, on the weekends.
So we're hoping to be able to augment that, and people could come here and enjoy the nature, the natural creeks and the rolling terrain, and the topography that we have is just amazing. So
It's way more lush here for sure. It's a
we
little
have
dry out
we
there.
have really good water. Very
Yeah,
good
and they
water
do
here,
have a
so-
lot of water coming through, and also cattle. But
Yeah.
this is, and you probably don't. I mean, they have a lot of rattlesnakes too. 'Cause it's so dry, lots of rocks for them to hide. And
We're very fortunate in the 25 years we've been here. I think we've only encountered rattlesnakes maybe 4 or 5 times. I think because of all the water that we have,
Yeah.
they don't like the water, so they stay away.
right. And luckily, we don't have water moccasins on the West Coast. But yeah, I love the idea of agritourism. In fact, I was in leadership at Morgan Hill in the Bay Area, and there was a big plot of land that they were asking the students what we should do with it, and we all came up with the idea of agritourism and I wanted a bridle path for equestrians. They have it actually at Harvey Bear in San Martin, where you could ride your horse on one side, and then there's bikers and hikers and ladies with pushing their babies, and we all merged together. And I went there all the time when the weather was terrible, and I could still ride on that trail. What they shut down the park, like Hidden Falls, they have to shut it down when it's because it's all clay.
Yeah.
And they don't want to ruin the trails. But here, it's kind of like you did what I envisioned for that plot. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but
Huh.
I'm glad that you have it here, and I hope more people have the opportunity to do it. And I hope that people that listen to this video that have that idea, even with 5 acres, you can do so much. Even 3, it's amazing what people can pull off. One last thing, what's the future of Gold Hill Gardens for you?
Botanical garden, trying to get the gardens expanded and open that up to more use during the week, so people can come by and tour the gardens and be part of nature.
That's great. And do you think you're going to need more employees, or is Katie like the one? She's going to pull it all off.
We're actually in the process of hiring a grounds manager, so we're going to be working with Katie to
I
post.
feel like you need a little help.
Yes, we're
Groundskeeper.
hoping to be able to get more employees.
You could start stalking people at Green Acres. They're pretty knowledgeable. Sorry.
Well, we'll put a full press effort out, probably through one of the employment agencies, and I'm sure we'll get some good candidates.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And anything else that I've forgotten to ask you that you wanted to share?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge for realtors too to watch, because when you're talking about how you put in a well and you had to put in septic, that I'm sure that was a pretty penny. And sometimes people will dig for a well and they don't strike water, they get sulfur, or they hit
Right.
way too much rock and they just can't weave it through, or they can't get deep enough. And then septic can be a challenge as well with perk and mantles. So it's really nice that you were able to make it happen, because you're
Yeah.
not always lucky.
We
It's good
also
to know.
are part of our approvals. We have the ability to build 5 cottages. So we're going to build 5. They call them farm stay cottages, and then we would be able to house 20 people overnight at one time. So right now we can house 10, and eventually we want to be able to house 20 people overnight. So, but that's in the future.
That's nice. Yeah, more ADUs. That would be great. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate you dressing so nicely today and coming out. And I'm excited to take some photos and get some video clips of what you have to offer here.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Lori.